Hey everyone, this is Philip, and this is the best of the week for the Everyday Fighter podcast.
You do, yes. Especially in those times when you slip, because and you will, if you've got, everyone's been through something, and just because your pain might not be the same type or degree or flavor of what I went through doesn't mean it's not valid. Your pain is your pain, and pain hurts. So when you have those moments where whatever it is that's causing you to trip up then you have to, you deserve to extend that grace to yourself. That sense of understanding, if you don't give that to yourself, then you're setting yourself back so much. And I like to tell people the way you talk to yourself should be at least as gently as you would talk to any other person. So when you make a mistake and, you get triggered by this Facebook post or whatever, and you're all upset about it, instead of barking at yourself and wagging the finger and yelling, going, "Oh, you should be over this by now. My gosh, that was 30 years ago." Instead of something like that, you should talk to yourself the same way you would talk to anyone else that you love, anyone else who's hurting, and say, "You know what? Yeah, kind of stinks, doesn't it? Okay, are we ready to, can we focus on something more positive, or why don't you treat yourself well, or, something that you can do to be gentle with your spirit."
How did you learn to do that? I mean, was it like the same, was it like the inherent part of you that always wanted to help someone, that you were born with the ability to grant yourself that grace?
No, I actually used to be very, very harsh with myself. I embodied all of those parental tapes, is what we used to call them. So I would hear my parents' voice in my head, and I would just berate myself for any little mistake, or for not being perfect, or not working enough. And that's where, again, all that workaholism came in. For a long time, I was working around 100 hours a week, every week, and really put my body through the ringer. And it just took a lot of hitting a wall, and it took a lot of kind people around me who spoke truth to me in a loving way. And people who would say, "Jennifer, look at this. Look at what you're doing yourself. You deserve to be treated kindly. You deserve to treat yourself well." And in my family members, my husband and my children, saying things to me like, "Wow, this is too hard. Nobody could do all this. You need to rest. You need to go outside and play with it." Well, a lot of it is me just being too hard on myself. And for a long time, that was where I lived. Mentally, that's where I lived, that I had to, work 100 hours a week, take a double load of courses, whatever the thing was, I had to do bigger, better, faster, more than what anyone else would expect of me. Because that's what I grew up with, and that's what I was comfortable with. I was
just living life at that pace.
At that
whatever
pace.
Was coming at you, good or bad or anything, it's just like we've just got to keep on going.
Yes, very much. Yes, and so learning how to be able to slow down. Again, going back to what my uncle had taught me of how to sit and how to be. That took some training, and that took me back to that training when one of my professors said something in class. We had to sit silently for the period, and he was just sitting there looking at us, and he says, "Some of you are really angry." And And I'm thinking, yes, I am. I'm paying you $400 per class session, and we're sitting here doing nothing. This is a waste of my time, because I had a double load. I had 3 jobs. I thought that I should be doing something, not sitting there in silence for an hour. Right. So he said, write down your responses, whatever you were just thinking there, write it down. And so I wrote all that out. And then when everybody stopped writing, he said, those of you who are angry about this are the ones who need it the most. If you're angry or frustrated or feel the urge to move when you are given an opportunity to sit and be still, then maybe you're out of balance. And when he said that, it took me straight back to training with my uncle. And I thought, oh, balance, sitting, being, sensing my environment. Okay.
One of the things with our style is the style that I learned with is a big piece of the black belt test is what they call the 10-man fight, 10-man kumite. And what this is the black belt tester, the student that's about to get their black belt, they have to fight 10 people in a row. The rounds, as far as their length, vary. Typically, it's 2-minute rounds with a minute rest in between. Some will go higher or lower, just depending on the particular school or style. And it was, again, full contact. Now, you can imagine somebody having to go through this gauntlet, how not only intimidating it is, because you've got 10 people lined up in front of you. And sometimes, depending on how many people are able to attend and help out with the test, maybe a couple of them have to go twice, right? So it's supposed to be 10-man fight. Maybe we only have 7 or 8 there, then a couple of those folks will go again. But invariably, these guys are fresh. This line of fresh fighters, and this black belt nominee has to go through all of that, all these rounds, and there's a little bit of rest in between. And one of the things that it took me a while to get used to, even just in my style, was actually going hard on somebody, actually not pulling my punches a lot, and because that was just something that was expected of us. But even in regular class, that was something that it took me a bit to get over. Then eventually, I started tussling in there just as strong as anybody else. You kind of like matched the strength of the person that you were sparring. But in this particular case, it was a little different for me in that, oh my gosh, I mean, you can see, I think I was like maybe 5th or 6th in line. And so I saw the fighters that were going ahead of me against my friend Matt. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I mean, by the time I get to him, he's just going to be wiped. And I think that was probably the way he was after just the first person, Of course, knowing that a lot of the people in line to fight would be thinking this, our teacher specifically told us, look, you're going to see stuff here that it's going to be hard to watch. But the thing is, you can't pull your punches on him. You cannot do that because that's not what he's here for. I mean, he's waited this many years. He's trained this long. He's practiced this long to be able to make it through this. So one, you don't want to give him kind of a false victory. I don't know if those are the actual terms that he used, but that was kind of the gist of it, was that you want to give him what he's been training for, So you are not helping him by going soft. And that was a big deal to me. That was a huge realization for me to hear, that I would be thinking typically that I was being kind, right? I was serving him if I did go softer, right? But, our teacher saying that, made me realize is, you know what? Maybe it's not serving him. So it gave me pause, and I really had to think about it, and I bought in. I said, you know what? I think he's right in this. It's definitely not serving him. And if I was in his shoes, I don't think I would want anyone to take it easy on me either. Thinking about it now, it's kind of a scary thought. But that's something that's, I would have wanted to feel like I earned it as well. And when somebody's kind of taking it easy on you. Now, of course, this is all within reason, right? I mean, of course, everybody has their level of aggression and of willingness to go on somebody. But I was a bit tempered in that I checked where he was, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to keep on going. I'm just going to do the things that I would normally do. And, that was a big deal for me. And I know, even when we went through, after I did it, I mean, I was going for the sweeps. I hit him pretty hard. He wasn't even checking his kicks anymore. Our kicks anymore. He was spent, but I just kept on telling myself, you're not serving him. You're not serving him by going any lighter, So, I tell that story to my classes, not in a way that makes them, I don't want to get them to beat on somebody for no reason, but just to give them pause, like it gave me pause in that, you want to be a good partner. The person that you're working with, they're here for a reason, right? If it's self-defense, that means they want to be prepared for anything that may come their way, whether they are or not, we don't know. All we can do is what we do on the mat, right? But you want to give them that respect, in that the person that is going to do something to them, looking to harm them, is not going to be pulling any punches, right? So because we are in a training environment, because we want to be absolutely safe, that's one thing, but we still want to challenge the person that we are working with.